The vastness of space stretched out beyond the viewing windows of the Stellar Guardian space station. From its position orbiting a deep blue planet, the station seemed like a solitary sentinel, watching over the mysteries of the cosmos. The Stellar Guardian was one of humanity's proudest achievements, a station dedicated to protecting the stars and safeguarding celestial phenomena from harm or exploitation. Inside the station, Captain Elise Morrow stood in the control room, staring at the holographic map projected before her. The stars glowed, their orbits marked with precision, and data scrolled down one side of the screen. Elise had been here many times before, watching over the universe like a silent protector, but today felt different. Suddenly, the control room's alarms blared, the holographic map zooming in on a distant star system. Red lines encircling. Elise's eyes narrowed. Something wasn't right. "Status report," she said, her voice calm but firm. A young technician turned to her, his face pale. "Captain, we've detected an anomaly in the RIA-12 system. Energy levels around the central star are fluctuating. It looks like someone is trying to harness the star's energy." Elise clenched her jaw. This was exactly the kind of exploitation they had sworn to prevent. She knew what had to be done. "Alert the crew," she ordered. "We need to move quickly." In the crew quarters, Lieutenant Jordan Voss was in the middle of a friendly arm wrestling match with another crew member when the station's alarms echoed through the corridors. Jordan looked up, his brow furrowing, and quickly let go of his opponent's hand. "Looks like duty calls," he said with a grin. His blonde hair tousled from the struggle. The crew rushed to the control room where Captain Elise Morrow waited, her eyes scanning the data feed. As Jordan entered, followed by Dr. Isaac Carter, she turned to face them. "Listen up, everyone. We have a situation in the RIA-12 system. An unknown entity is trying to harness energy from a young star. If we don't intervene, the consequences could be catastrophic." Dr. Isaac Carter, an astrophysicist with an ever-curious mind, adjusted his glasses, his eyes widening as he looked at the holographic display. "The energy fluctuation. It's massive. If they destabilize the star, it could destroy every planet in the system." Elise nodded. "Exactly. We need to intercept before they do any more damage. I know the risks, but we have a duty to protect the universe, no matter what it takes." Jordan crossed his arms, a confident smile on his face. "I guess it's time to show them what happens when they mess with the protectors of the stars." Elise gave him a nod, her expression serious. "Prepare the ship. We're heading out." As the Stellar Guardian began to mobilize, Elise took a deep breath, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of the RIA-12 system. A young star, bright and full of potential, now had foreign machinery attached to it, massive structures designed to siphon off its energy. She knew the damage they could cause if left unchecked. The Cosmic Observation Network had always feared that humanity wouldn't be the only ones interested in the stars. The universe held many wonders, and not all who explored them were interested in preserving their beauty. Some wanted to exploit, to take, to destroy, and that was something Elise had dedicated her life to preventing. The feed showed an alien structure. Dark, mechanical tendrils wrapped around the bright star like a parasite. The markings on the structure were unmistakable. "The Vendrex Consortium," Dr. Carter said, his voice filled with concern. "They're known for their resource exploitation. They don't care about the balance of the cosmos. They only care about profit." Elise's eyes narrowed. "Then we'll make them care. We can't let them do this." The crew nodded, determination written across their faces. They were protectors, and they would do whatever it took to defend the universe from those who would exploit it. The crew gathered in the Stellar Guardian's briefing room. The lights dimmed, and a holographic image of the Vendrex siphon projected in the center. Elise stood at the head of the table, her hands resting on the console. "This is our target," she said, pointing to the machinery wrapped around the star. "The Vendrex Consortium is trying to harness energy from the star, which could lead to catastrophic instability. If the star goes, every planet in the system will be destroyed." Lieutenant Voss leaned forward, his expression serious for once. "How do we stop it?" Elise turned to Dr. Carter. "Isaac, what are our options?" Dr. Carter adjusted his glasses, studying the holographic model. "We could sabotage the siphon, disable its core functions, but it won't be easy. The Vendrex are well protected, and they're not going to just let us walk in." Elise nodded. "Then we'll make a plan. We'll approach the system, get as close as we can without detection, and find a way to disable that siphon." She looked around the room, her gaze meeting each crew member's. "We're not just doing this for ourselves. We're doing it for every being that depends on these stars, for the beauty of the cosmos itself. We can't let them destroy it." The crew nodded in agreement, their faces set with determination. They had taken on the role of guardians, and they wouldn't let anyone threaten what they had vowed to protect. The Stellar Guardian's engines roared to life, the vibrations resonating through the station as the ship prepared for launch. Captain Elise Morrow stood on the bridge, her eyes focused on the view ahead, the vast, endless space that lay between them and the RIA-12 system. "Coordinates set, Captain," Lieutenant Voss reported, his hands moving deftly over the control panel. "Engage!" Elise ordered. The ship surged forward, the stars around them stretching into long lines as they entered faster than light travel. The crew watched silently, each of them lost in their thoughts, knowing the dangers that lay ahead. Dr. Carter stared out at the vastness of space, his mind racing. He had always loved the stars, their beauty, their mystery. The idea that someone would seek to exploit them, to destroy something so beautiful, filled him with both anger and determination. Elise placed a hand on his shoulder. "We'll stop them, Isaac," she said, her voice calm but filled with conviction. "We'll make sure that star keeps shining." He nodded, a small smile forming on his lips. "For the stars," he said. Elise smiled in return. "For the stars." The Stellar Guardian continued its journey through the void, the crew ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. They were humanity's last line of defense, the protectors of the universe, and they would not let it fall. As the ship sped towards the distant system, the crew braced themselves for what lay ahead. They had made their decision. No matter what it took, they would protect the universe from those who sought to exploit it. The RIA-12 system was counting on them, and they would not fail. The Stellar Guardian's engines hummed softly as the ship glided through the darkness of space, its destination the distant RIA-12 system. On the bridge, the crew worked diligently, each person playing their part in preparing for the journey ahead. The star system was still several light years away, and the crew knew the journey wouldn't be without challenge. Captain Elise Morrow stood at the center of the bridge, her eyes fixed on the vast screen displaying their course. Lieutenant Jordan Voss adjusted the ship's trajectory, his fingers gliding over the control panel. The crew could feel the weight of their mission pressing on their shoulders. What they were about to face wasn't just another routine mission. It was a battle for the survival of a cosmic wonder. Elise turned to Dr. Isaac Carter, who was reviewing data on a nearby terminal. "How are we looking, Isaac?" she asked. Dr. Carter looked up, his expression thoughtful. "The energy readings from the RIA-12 star are fluctuating more rapidly now. If they continue at this rate, the star could destabilize within a few days." Elise nodded. "We need to move quickly. Lieutenant Voss, let's make this as smooth a ride as possible." Jordan gave her a confident grin. "Don't worry, Captain. I've got us covered." The ship surged forward, the stars around them transforming into streaks of light as they entered faster than light travel. Elise watched as the vastness of the cosmos stretched out before them, her thoughts focused on the task at hand. They had to reach the RIA-12 system before it was too late. The journey was anything but smooth. Space was full of dangers, and the crew soon found themselves navigating a dense asteroid field. The Stellar Guardian's shields flared as small rocks collided with the ship's surface, and Jordan Voss's concentration sharpened, his hands steady on the controls. "Hold on, everyone!" Voss called out, maneuvering the ship through the maze of tumbling rocks. The crew braced themselves as the ship weaved through the dense cluster of asteroids, the view outside a chaotic dance of tumbling stones illuminated by the ship's running lights. The ship lurched slightly as an asteroid grazed the shield, but Voss managed to steady the vessel. He grinned, a touch of excitement in his eyes. "Piece of cake," he muttered, his voice filled with both tension and exhilaration. Dr. Carter, who had been gripping the edge of the console, let out a relieved sigh. "Let's try not to do that again, shall we?" he said, a nervous smile on his face. Elise couldn't help but smile at their pilot's confidence, even in the face of danger. This was their life, constantly balancing on the edge between the beauty and peril of the cosmos. As they emerged from the asteroid field, the crew allowed themselves a moment of respite, but Dr. Isaac Carter's mind was still occupied. He had been analyzing data from the RIA-12 system for hours, and something wasn't adding up. The energy fluctuations seemed far more erratic than he had anticipated. "Elise, I think there's something we need to consider," Dr. Carter said, turning to the captain. Elise moved over to his station, her eyes narrowing as she looked at the data projected on the screen. "What is it, Isaac?" Dr. Carter pointed to a series of readings. "The star isn't just any ordinary young star. It's part of a chain that stabilizes multiple systems nearby. If it's destabilized, it could cause a domino effect, affecting neighboring planets and even entire star systems." Elise's heart sank as she processed the information. "So, if they succeed in siphoning energy from it, they're not just risking this one system. It could cause widespread destruction." Dr. Carter nodded. "Exactly. We need to act fast. The risk isn't just local. This could have galactic consequences." Elise straightened up, her determination growing stronger. "Then we don't have a choice. We stop them, no matter what." The realization only added urgency to their mission. The Stellar Guardian had to reach the RIA-12 system before the Vendrex Consortium could do any more damage. The stakes were higher than any of them had imagined. Hours later, the Stellar Guardian approached the RIA-12 system. The young star at its center glowed brilliantly, but the sight that met the crew's eyes filled them with dread. Attached to the star were massive metallic siphons, dark structures that looked like mechanical leeches, sucking the life out of the star. Captain Elise Morrow clenched her jaw as she observed the machinery through the main viewing screen. "There it is. They're already draining the energy." Jordan Voss shook his head, his expression filled with disbelief. "They're bleeding it dry. They have no idea or worse. They don't care what they're risking. Dr. Carter looked at Elise, his face a mixture of concern and determination. We have to find a way to disable those siphons, Elise. If we don't, we're looking at a galactic-scale disaster. Elise nodded, her gaze locked on the alien structures. They're not getting away with this. Not while we're here. She took a deep breath, her mind already formulating a plan. They would have to get in close, somehow avoid detection, and disable the siphons. It was a dangerous mission, but they were humanity's protectors, and this was their duty. Suddenly, the communications panel lit up, and a transmission came through. The holographic screen flickered to life, showing the face of an alien, reptilian features, dark eyes, and a cold expression that seemed to lack any compassion. "It's them," Dr. Carter muttered under his breath. The alien on the screen spoke, its voice echoing across the bridge. "This is Commander Zorath of the Vendrex Consortium. You are trespassing in restricted territory. Leave immediately or face annihilation." Captain Elise Morrow stared at the screen, her expression calm but steely. "This is Captain Elise Morrow of the Stellar Guardian. Your actions are threatening the stability of this system. Cease your operations and withdraw, or we will be forced to intervene." Zorath's eyes narrowed, and a sneer crossed his lips. "Humans," he said, his voice dripping with contempt. "You always think you can stand in the way of progress. This star is ours now. Leave, or be destroyed." The transmission cut off abruptly, and the bridge was filled with silence. Elise turned to her crew, her expression unwavering. "Prepare for interception. We're not letting them destroy this star." The crew sprang into action, determination etched across their faces. This was their moment, to stand up against those who would exploit the universe, to protect what could not protect itself. They were the guardians of the stars, and they would not back down. The Stellar Guardian moved closer to the Rhea 12 system, the crew ready to take on whatever lay ahead. The alien machinery loomed before them, the star glowing with a desperate brilliance. They had made their choice, and there was no turning back now. The Stellar Guardian moved closer to the Rhea 12 system, the alien siphons wrapped around the star coming into full view on the bridge's main screen. Captain Elise Morrow's eyes narrowed as she stared at the mechanical monstrosities draining the energy of the young star. It was time to confront the enemy directly. "Open a channel," Elise ordered. The communications officer complied, and a moment later, the holographic screen flickered to life. The cold, reptilian face of Commander Zorath appeared, his eyes filled with a disdain that made Elise's blood boil. "This is Captain Elise Morrow of the Stellar Guardian," Elise said, her voice steady but filled with authority. "You are in violation of interstellar law. Your energy siphons are destabilizing the Rhea 12 star, putting countless lives at risk. Cease your operations and withdraw immediately." Zorath's lips curled into a sneer, his dark eyes narrowing. "Humans, always meddling in affairs beyond your comprehension. This star, this system, are now under the control of the Vendrex Consortium. You have no jurisdiction here." Elise straightened, her expression hardening. "This isn't about jurisdiction, Zorath. It's about protecting the universe from the likes of you." Zorath's voice turned cold, his tone mocking. "Do you really think you can stop us, Captain? You and your feeble human crew?" Elise's gaze never wavered. "We'll do whatever it takes to protect this star, Zorath. Withdraw, or face the consequences." Zorath's image flickered for a moment, his eyes narrowing before the transmission cut off abruptly. The tension on the bridge was palpable, the crew looking to Elise for guidance. "Prepare for infiltration," Elise commanded, her eyes fixed on the alien siphons visible in the distance. "We're not letting them destroy this star." In the Stellar Guardian's briefing room, the crew gathered around a holographic projection of the alien siphon, attached to the Rhea 12 star. The siphon was a massive mechanical structure, its dark tendrils extending across the star's surface like a parasite. Captain Elise Morrow stood at the front of the room, her gaze focused as she addressed her crew. "We need to disable these siphons, and we need to do it quickly. The Vendrex aren't going to leave willingly, and they won't hesitate to destroy us if they get the chance." Dr. Isaac Carter, standing beside the holographic projection, pointed to a series of glowing points on the siphon. "These are the main energy conduits. If we can disrupt the flow here, it will cause a chain reaction that should disable the entire siphon. The problem is, we need to get in close to do it." Lieutenant Jordan Voss leaned forward, his expression serious for once. "So, we're going in on foot?" Elise nodded. "That's right. We'll take a small team and infiltrate the siphon. We'll plant charges at each of these conduits and then get out before they detonate." Dr. Carter looked uneasy. "It's risky. If we're detected, we could be overwhelmed before we even reach the conduits." Elise nodded in agreement, her gaze moving from one crew member to the next. "I know it's dangerous, but we can't let them destroy this star. We're humanity's protectors, and we have a duty to uphold." Jordan gave her a confident grin. "Then let's show them what humans are made of." The small team, led by Captain Elise Morrow and Lieutenant Jordan Voss, suited up in their armored spacesuits, each piece fitting snugly as they prepared for the mission. The tension in the air was thick, the crew knowing the risks that lay ahead. Elise adjusted her helmet, her eyes meeting those of each member of the infiltration team. "Remember, our mission is to disable the siphon and get out alive," Elise said, her voice clear through the comms. "We'll be up against the Vendrex, and they won't go easy on us. Stick together, follow orders, and we'll get this done." Jordan nodded, his usual grin replaced by a look of focus. "Understood, Captain. Let's make them regret ever touching our star." The Stellar Guardian approached the siphon, keeping its distance to avoid detection. A small shuttle detached from the main ship, carrying Elise, Jordan, and the rest of the infiltration team towards the siphon's docking platform. The shuttle moved silent, the massive structure growing larger as they neared it. They landed on the platform, the docking bay empty except for the eerie glow of the star beyond. The airlock opened, and the team moved out, their steps careful as they approached the entrance to the siphon's interior. Inside, the corridors were dimly lit, the walls covered in alien symbols and machinery. The team moved in silence, their footsteps muffled by the thick padding of their boots. They knew they had to move quickly. Any delay could mean the difference between success and failure. "Keep an eye out for any guards," Elise whispered through the comms. "We're getting close to the first conduit." The team reached the first energy conduit, a glowing node pulsating with raw energy. Dr. Carter's voice came through the comms, guiding them. "You need to attach the charge directly to the energy regulator. That should disrupt the flow." Elise moved quickly, attaching the charge as instructed. She was just about to signal to move on when a sudden blaring alarm echoed through the corridor. The team froze, their eyes widening as the red lights began to flash. "We've been detected!" Jordan called out, his voice tense. Within moments, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor. The Vendrex guards were approaching, their armor gleaming in the dim light. Elise drew her weapon, her heart pounding as she looked at her team. "Take cover!" she ordered. The corridor erupted into chaos as the Vendrex guards rounded the corner, their weapons blazing. Elise and her team returned fire, the sound of energy blasts filling the air. Jordan moved swiftly, taking down one of the guards with precision shots, while Elise focused on protecting the team as they tried to make their way to the next conduit. "We can't afford to lose time," Elise shouted over the noise. "We need to reach the other conduits." The Vendrex were relentless, their sheer numbers overwhelming. Elise knew they couldn't afford to stay and fight. They had to complete their mission and get out. She signaled to Jordan, who nodded in understanding. "Keep pushing forward!" Elise yelled, her determination unwavering. The team fought their way through the corridors, the tension mounting as they made their way to the next energy conduit. Jordan moved ahead, planting the second charge as Elise provided cover. The sound of blaring alarms and shouting filled the air, but the team pushed forward, their determination driving them. Finally, they reached the third and final conduit. Elise quickly attached the charge, her eyes scanning the corridor for any signs of more Vendrex guards. She pressed the activation button, and the charges synced up, ready to detonate. "Charges are set," Elise called into her comms. "Dr. Carter, we're ready to initiate detonation." Dr. Carter's voice came through, steady despite the situation. "Copy that, Captain. You need to get out of there. Now." Elise signaled to her team, and they began to move back towards their shuttle, the sound of approaching footsteps echoing behind them. The Vendrex weren't giving up without a fight, and Elise knew they were running out of time. They reached the docking platform, the shuttle waiting for them. The team scrambled inside, the doors closing just as the first Vendrex guards reached the platform. Jordan piloted the shuttle away, the alien siphon growing smaller behind them. "Get us out of here, Lieutenant," Elise said, her voice filled with both relief and urgency. The shuttle sped away from the siphon, and Elise looked out the window, her heart pounding. The charges were set, but they were still too close. They needed to put as much distance between themselves and the siphon as possible. "Dr. Carter, detonate the charges," Elise ordered. There was a brief pause, and then the screen in front of her showed the siphon. The charges detonated, and a brilliant flash of light filled the view. The energy conduits shattered, the siphon's structure crumbling as the star's energy surged, overwhelming the machinery. Elise let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. The siphon was destroyed, and the star was safe, for now. As the shuttle sped back towards the Stellar Guardian, Elise looked at her team, their faces tired, but filled with relief. They had succeeded in disabling the siphon, but the battle was far from over. The Vendrex weren't going to back down easily, and Elise knew they would be coming for them with everything they had. The shuttle sped away from the exploding siphon, its engines roaring as the Stellar Guardian loomed ahead. Captain Elise Morrow, seated next to Lieutenant Jordan Voss, kept her eyes fixed on the view beyond the shuttle's window, watching the star's bright glow fill the screen. The destruction of the siphon meant that they had successfully stopped the Vendrex, for now. As they approached the docking bay of the Stellar Guardian, Elise's comm crackled with Dr. Isaac Carter's voice. "Captain, I'm seeing increased activity on the Vendrex's scanners. They're mobilizing their fleet. I think they know we destroyed the siphon." Elise clenched her jaw, a flicker of determination crossing her face. "Then we'll be ready for them, Isaac. Get the crew prepared. We're not out of this yet." The shuttle docked, and the team quickly disembarked. There was no time to rest. No time to celebrate. They had dealt a blow to the Vendrex, but Elise knew the battle was far from over. The Vendrex would retaliate, and they needed to be ready. As Elise entered the bridge, she turned to her crew. The Vendrex are coming for us. They know we destroyed the siphon, and they're not going to take that lightly. We need to defend this star, no matter what. Prepare for battle. Lieutenant Voss took his position at the helm, his eyes locked on the approaching alien fleet that was now visible on the sensors. Looks like we're in for one heck of a fight, Captain, he said, a hint of a smile on his lips. Elise nodded. And we're going to show them that humans won't back down. The alien fleet appeared on the screen. Massive warships, their dark silhouettes highlighted against the brilliance of the Rhea-12 star. Elise watched as the enemy ships moved closer, their weapons charging. The Vendrex were determined to take the star, and they would not leave without a fight. Suddenly, the comm system beeped, and a familiar voice filled the room. Stellar Guardian, this is Commander Nathan Hale of the Arcadia. We've received your distress signal, and we're here to assist. Elise's eyes widened in surprise. She turned to the communications officer, who smiled and nodded. A moment later, the tactical display showed several human ships arriving in the system. Reinforcements had come, and not a moment too soon. The bridge erupted into cheers as the familiar vessels appeared on the screen, their sleek forms contrasting with the dark, menacing ships of the Vendrex. Elise felt a surge of hope as she recognized the Arcadia at the head of the formation. Commander Hale, Elise spoke into her comm, her voice filled with gratitude. We're glad to see you. We need to protect the Rhea-12 star at all costs. The Vendrex are trying to drain its energy, and if they succeed, it could cause catastrophic damage. We're ready to stand by your side, Captain, Commander Hale replied, his voice steady. Let's show these Vendrex what happens when they threaten our stars. The human fleet moved into formation, taking up defensive positions around the star. The Stellar Guardian led the way, its weapon systems coming online as the alien fleet drew closer. The void of space was filled with the bright flashes of laser fire and energy beams as the battle began. The Stellar Guardian, alongside the newly arrived human fleet, opened fire on the Vendrex ships, their weapons lighting up the darkness. Captain Elise Morrow stood at the center of the bridge, her voice calm but commanding as she gave orders. Target the lead Vendrex warship. We need to break their formation. The crew worked in unison, their fingers moving over the control panels as they unleashed wave after wave of firepower. Lieutenant Voss piloted the Stellar Guardian with precision, maneuvering between enemy blasts and returning fire with accuracy. On the screen, the Vendrex ships moved in an attempt to flank the human fleet. The alien vessels were heavily armed, their energy cannons firing with deadly precision, but the human fleet fought back with determination, refusing to yield. Arcadia, we're picking up movement on the left flank, Elise called out. Can you cover us? Commander Hale's voice came over the comm. Copy that, Stellar Guardian. Moving to intercept, the Arcadia moved into position, its weapons blazing as it engaged the Vendrex warships. The battle was fierce, the bright flashes of energy lighting up the darkness of space. The two fleets clashed, neither willing to back down. The battle raged on, the outcome uncertain. The Vendrex fleet was relentless, their warships pushing forward with the intent to overwhelm the human defenders. The Stellar Guardian shook as enemy fire struck its shields, the crew holding their ground despite the barrage. Captain Elise Morrow looked at the tactical display, her eyes narrowing as she saw the enemy fleet regrouping for another assault. They needed to do something to turn the tide of the battle, or they risked losing the star and everything they had fought for. Elise, I think I have an idea, Dr. Isaac Carter said, moving towards her. The Vendrex ships are powered by an energy source similar to the one they were trying to siphon from the star. If we can create an overload in their energy cores, it could cause a chain reaction and take out multiple ships. Elise's eyes lit up with determination. Can we do it? Dr. Carter nodded. We'd need to get close enough to disrupt their energy cores. It's risky, but it's our best shot. Elise turned to Lieutenant Voss. Jordan, how fast can you get us in close? Jordan grinned, his hands already moving over the controls. Fast enough, Captain. The Stellar Guardian moved towards the heart of the Vendrex formation, its weapons targeting the alien ship's energy cores. The crew braced themselves as they approached, the ship shaking under the barrage of enemy fire. Now! Dr. Carter shouted, initiating the overload. The energy cores of the Vendrex ships began to destabilize, the bright glow of their engines flickering as the disruption spread. One by one, the alien ships began to explode, brilliant flashes of light filling the screen as the overload took effect. The tide of the battle had turned. With the Vendrex fleet in disarray, the human ships pressed their advantage, pushing the remaining alien vessels back. The once overwhelming force of the Vendrex was now on the defensive, their warships retreating as the human fleet moved in for the final blow. Commander Hale, let's finish this, Elise said, her voice filled with determination. The Arcadia and the other human ships moved forward, their weapons systems firing in unison. The Vendrex ships began to fall back, their formation breaking as they fled the system. The battle was over. Humanity had won. The bridge erupted in cheers, the crew celebrating their victory. Elise allowed herself a small smile, her eyes turning to the bright glow of the Rhea 12 star. They had protected it, kept it safe from those who would exploit it. But she knew this was just one battle in a much larger struggle. Commander Hale's voice came over the comm. "Stellar Guardian, congratulations on a job well done. We'll see you back at base." Elise nodded. "Thank you, Commander. We couldn't have done it without you." She turned to her crew, her expression softening. "You all did incredible work today. We protected the star, and we showed the Vendrex that humanity won't back down." Dr. Carter stepped forward, his eyes filled with emotion. "We did more than that, Elise. We protected the beauty of the universe. We're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting for something much bigger." Elise looked out at the star, its light shining brightly in the distance. "And we'll keep fighting, for as long as it takes. We're the protectors of the stars, and we're not going anywhere." As the Stellar Guardian moved away from the Rhea 12 star, the crew knew that their mission was far from over. The universe was vast, filled with wonders that needed protecting, and they would be there, ready to defend it. The stars still needed guardians, and humanity would answer the call. The Stellar Guardian drifted in the quiet of space, the aftermath of the battle still fresh in everyone's minds. The Vendrex fleet had been pushed back, but their commander, Zorath, had not yet given up. The tactical display on the bridge showed Zorath's flagship still lingering at the edge of the Rhea 12 system, a dark presence that refused to leave. Captain Elise Morrow stared at the display, her jaw clenched. Zorath was not going to leave without a fight. "We need to take out Zorath's flagship," she said, her voice filled with determination. "We can't let him return and regroup." Lieutenant Jordan Voss looked over at Elise, his expression serious. "Captain, he's heavily fortified. We'll need every bit of power we have left to take him down." Elise nodded. "We're not alone. Commander Hale and the Arcadia will back us up." She turned to the comm officer. "Open a channel to the Arcadia." The screen flickered, and Commander Hale's face appeared, his expression stern. "Captain Morrow, what's the plan?" "We need to finish this, Commander," Elise said. "Zorath's flagship is still in the system. We have to take him down, once and for all." Commander Hale nodded. "We're with you, Elise. Let's end this." The human ships moved into formation, the Stellar Guardian and the Arcadia leading the way as they approached Zorath's flagship. The dark vessel loomed ahead, its weapons glowing ominously. This was it, the final confrontation. Elise made the decision that if they wanted to end Zorath's threat for good, they would need to take the fight directly to him. A boarding party would be sent to infiltrate the flagship, disable its systems, and confront Zorath face to face. It was dangerous, but Elise knew there was no other choice. "Jordan, you're with me," Elise said, turning to Lieutenant Voss. "We're going to board that ship and put an end to this." Dr. Isaac Carter stepped forward, his face filled with concern. "Elise, are you sure about this? It's incredibly risky." Elise nodded. "We need to take the fight to him. If we don't, he'll just keep coming back, and we can't afford that." The small boarding shuttle left the Stellar Guardian, carrying Elise, Jordan, and a team of specially trained fighters towards Zorath's flagship. The shuttle moved in stealthily, avoiding detection as they approached one of the docking bays. The team landed and quickly moved out, their weapons ready as they entered the enemy vessel. The halls of Zorath's flagship were dark, filled with an eerie silence that only added to the tension. Elise led the way, her senses on high alert. They moved through the corridors, taking down guards as they encountered them. The deeper they went, the closer they got to the core of the ship, where Zorath was waiting. Elise knew that this was the only way to end the threat, for the stars, and for humanity. The team finally reached the central control room of the flagship. The doors slid open with a hiss, revealing Commander Zorath standing at the center of the room, his reptilian eyes narrowing as he saw Elise and her team enter. "So, you've come to face me in person, Captain," Zorath said, his voice dripping with disdain. "You're brave, but foolish." Elise stepped forward, her weapon aimed at Zorath. "This ends now, Zorath. You've threatened the universe long enough." Zorath's lips curled into a sneer. "You think you can stop me? You are nothing compared to the power of the Vendrex." Elise didn't hesitate. She fired her weapon, and the room erupted into chaos. Zorath moved with surprising speed, drawing his own weapon and returning fire. The team spread out, taking cover as the battle began. Jordan moved to Elise's side, his eyes focused as he provided cover. "We've got this, Captain. We're not letting him get away." The fight was intense, the room filled with the bright flashes of energy blasts and the sound of weapons firing. Zorath was powerful, his strength evident as he fought back with a fury that made it clear he would not go down easily. But Elise and her team were relentless. They fought with everything they had, pushing forward despite the odds. Elise knew that they couldn't afford to fail, not when so much was at stake. Finally, with a well-aimed shot, Elise struck Zorath, the blast hitting him square in the chest. The alien commander staggered, his eyes widening in shock as he fell to the ground. Elise approached, her weapon still aimed at him. "This is for the stars," she said, her voice filled with conviction. Zorath's eyes closed, and he fell silent. It was over. With Zorath defeated, Elise and her team quickly moved to disable the flagship's core systems. They planted charges in key locations, ensuring that the ship would be rendered inoperable. "Charges are set," Jordan reported, his voice steady despite the tension. "We need to get out of here, now." The team moved swiftly back through the corridors, making their way to the shuttle. They could hear the sounds of Vendrek's guards approaching, but they pushed forward, their determination unshakable. They had come too far to fail now. They reached the shuttle and quickly boarded, the engines roaring to life as they lifted off. Elise looked out the window as the shuttle pulled away from the flagship, the charges detonating moments later. The flagship shuddered, explosions ripping through its core as the ship was rendered powerless. Back on the Stellar Guardian, cheers erupted as the crew watched the flagship begin to fall apart. The remaining Vendrek ships, now leaderless and without direction, began to retreat. The battle was won, the star was safe, and the Vendreks had been defeated. Elise allowed herself a moment of relief, her heart swelling with pride. They had done it. They had protected the star, and they had shown the Vendreks that humanity would not be bullied or defeated. Back on the Stellar Guardian, the crew gathered in the observation deck, looking out at the bright glow of the Rhea 12 star. Captain Elise Morrow stood at the center of the room, her heart filled with both relief and determination. Dr. Isaac Carter stepped up beside her, his eyes on the star. "We did it, Elise. We protected the star. But this is just one victory. There are still so many wonders out there that need defending." Elise nodded, her gaze unwavering. "And we'll be there to protect them, for as long as we can. The universe is vast, and there are those who would exploit it for their own gain. But we are the guardians of the stars, and we won't let them succeed." Jordan joined them, his usual grin back on his face. "You know, I think we make a pretty good team. I mean, we just took down an entire alien fleet." Elise smiled, her eyes still on the star. "We're not just a team, Jordan. We're protectors. And as long as we have each other, there's nothing we can't do." The crew looked out at the Rhea 12 star, its light shining brightly, a reminder of why they fought. They were the protectors of the universe, the guardians of the stars, and they would continue their mission, no matter what lay ahead. The Stellar Guardian remained in orbit around the Rhea 12 star for a few more days, ensuring that the Vendreks had truly retreated and that the star was stabilizing. As the days passed, the crew began to relax, the weight of the mission slowly lifting. Captain Elise Morrow recorded a message for humanity, a message of hope and determination. She spoke of their duty to protect the wonders of the universe, to be the guardians that ensured the stars remained untouched and beautiful for generations to come. "We are humanity," Elise said, her voice clear and strong. "We are not just explorers. We are protectors, and as long as there are stars to defend, we will be there, for the universe, for the stars, and for all those who look up at the night sky and dream of what lies beyond." The Stellar Guardian turned away from the Rhea 12 star, setting a course for their next mission. The universe was vast, filled with both beauty and danger, and the crew of the Stellar Guardian knew that their work was far from over. But as they moved forward, they did so with hope, determination, and a promise to protect the stars, no matter what.